Welcome back to another episode of the Elaboration Station. I'm your host, Tanner Westbrook, and today I'm joined by Adam Schafer, Mind Pump host, IFBB fitness competitor. He's been in the fitness industry for 17 plus years, and he's a serial entrepreneur. This guy is the real deal, so it was an honor for me to talk to him, and I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy it too. So here we go.
Hey, listen. We're going to get on this show, and you know what? We're not going to edit. We're not going to cut anything out of instant gratification where, you know, you want to be able to get some followers on Instagram and then make some. Your true net worth is your net and sex life and things like that. Like, that ain't fucking together and saying, hey, man, how's your sex life with your wife right now? Is it going? The brain thinks is like, all it thinks is get this weight over my head, or I'm just kidding. I just have to ask.
I understand. I should probably be on something because it's my first one and I'm all anxious.
This isn't your first podcast, is it?
Well, it's the first one, like interviewing and talking to somebody else.
Okay. Well, I'm an easy guy to talk to.
That's kind of why I picked you.
It's a good choice, man. those other guys I work with, I don't know so much about them.
I think Sal would overwhelm me a little bit with his knowledge, and I don't know if I could get anywhere with Justin because we'd get on tangents, but...
Yeah, save all the nerdy science questions for Justin. I mean, for Sal. That's fucking boring for me.
Yeah. No, I got some business talk for you.
Yeah, man. Whenever you want to go, let's rock and roll. Doug, are you good on our side over here? We're good on our end, man.
Sweet, man. I'm already recording, so we're rolling.
Oh, good. I like you do that.
Yeah, so I can edit all that stuff out and figure it all out. But yeah, just it's nice talking to you.
Yeah, man.
Trippy.
So talk to me. Is it trippy? Does it sound? Do I sound the same talking to me as I do listening to me?
Oh yeah. I've been listening for about a year, so I feel like I'm like a friend already. So it's nice.
That's one of the things that we had to get used to. I'd meet people, right, and they would come say hi. I listen to the show. I've listened to like all 400 episodes at that time. That's about where we were at, and I'd start talking. And they would just like. They would start talking to me about something that an episode that just released. And sometimes, especially at the beginning, you know, we were only meeting 2 days a week and we would record like 3 episodes and then we would release them. And I didn't know the order that Doug would release them. So, you know, and you talk for so many hours, you wouldn't remember what the fuck you said. And so people would they would finish sentences of mine that I would say on the podcast that in trying to be funny. And it would go right over my head. And I'd feel like such an asshole because I know they're a fan. They're listening. They come over and they would say something like really witty that had to do with one of the episodes that literally just went live, and I'd be like, "Fuck, I don't get what you're saying right now." And then they'd have to fill me in on my own show and what we talked about. And oh, you just listened to that episode? Yeah, that was great. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I like how you guys have gotten better about like uploading more frequent because I follow all you guys on Instagram and I see what you guys are doing, and then like a few days later, I'll hear about it in the podcast. So I'm glad you guys kind of shortened up the time you release stuff.
Yeah, that was something. So when we first started, we had to do it the other way, and then we actually kind of thought it would be a good strategy to like load up these episodes. Like, let's get ahead of them so we can work on other parts of the business. And I think one of the final things that made us not do that anymore, we interviewed Brendan Schaub.
Yeah, I listened to that one. That was a good one.
Hung out with him afterwards and had a really good conversation. That was one of his things that he says that is a mistake that a lot of podcasters make is they record these episodes and then they let them sit and they just go stale. And the energy around that, especially if you're somebody who's posting on social media, like you're saying, you know, people that are actually listening to all the episodes, they want to feel like it's current, right? They don't want to feel like it was something canned from, you know, and especially if you ever talk about anything going on, like we just were doing a intro to tomorrow's episode. And, you know, we're talking about Ready Player One. Like, how lame is that if that comes out in a month? You know, saying like, yeah, cool story, guys. You know, talking about Ready Player One, like a month after it's out of the theater and shit. So you got to be careful and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to open up with something like that. I was going to ask you if you saw what happened to Connor or what Connor did.
We were literally just like 15 minutes ago. Something he threw something at a Greyhound bus. Is that right? Did I hear that right?
It was a dolly for boxes, and he threw it through the window that had the fighters on the bus for this weekend. They were coming away from doing interviews and stuff, and he ran them down with like 20 people and threw something through the window, cut up a dude's hand, almost broke Rose Namajunas' hand with the dolly. So I just was watching a thing with Dana on there talking about how he doesn't know what to do with this whole situation.
Now, what's your thought on that? Do you think that a lot of that is the hype? Like, do you think that that's him just taking it to another level so for his own personal business and name and to draw more attention to the fight?
Well, it's hard because that's what he's done his whole career is like he's like a hype man for himself in the fights that are coming up. But
Right.
I think to do like assault to someone, like take it to that level, he needs to be punished. But then you have Dana White who can't get any pay-per-view buys, and he needs Conor to like keep going on that whole business side of the UFC. So he has to kind of, he can't be like, I can't let you fight anymore because he needs him for the money. And then, but how do you like punish the guy that's got $100 million in the bank from the Floyd Mayweather fight?
Right. So did you see then why is Max Holloway not fighting now? I didn't even see because that just happened over since last night also, right?
Oh, I didn't even see that. I just
yeah. You got to look at so if you're paying attention to the UFC thing right now. So that's what I was going to watch the fight and got up this morning. Someone talked about the Conor thing, so I got on to Dana White's page. And I see that the main event has already been switched out. So I don't know if Max Holloway backed out last minute or he didn't make weight or I don't even know what happened. So we were literally looking into this and talking about this before you and I got on the mics.
Oh, that's awesome. But
yeah.
It's probably from a weight cut issue. If I had to guess, he had to lose 16 pounds in like 5 or 6 days. So I would assume it probably was something like that. And then with all the commotion with Conor, he's probably like, step back, fuck this. I can't handle the stress or however he wanted to do it.
Doug just pulled it up right now for me on the TV, and it says that Holloway has been pulled from Saturday's event he's been deemed medically unfit to compete. The fuck does that mean?
Oh, I think that's another guy. That's not the guy Khabib's supposed to fight.
No, that's who Khabib was fighting Holloway. He's not fighting him now.
Oh, I read something different this morning. Maybe I read an older article.
Was he fighting Pettis? Am I getting my guys mixed up right now?
I think so. I think the guy that got his hand cut.
No. Go to the top, Doug. Isn't it? It says that he was supposed to fight Pettis or Khabib against main event. No, this was Max Holloway was the main event against Khabib, and he pulled out yesterday. And for it's saying that he's deemed unfit and now stepping in as some guy that I don't even know.
I wonder if unfit was like a weight cut issue where he was not feeling healthy because Khabib's supposed to be. I just listened to the Rogan podcast with Brendan on there, and they were talking about what a monster he was. So he's probably just like, I'm not ready. I mean, I'm totally talking out of.
No, you're right. I'm reading further into this, and it looks like that he was expected to be able to get down the weight, and it was supposed to be one of the largest weight cuts in the shortest amount of time here, and it looks like you're probably right. What was happening was he's probably cutting so hard and either didn't make weight or was so close to not making it, then he was probably felt terrible. These guys are some of the shit that they do.
Oh man, it's unbelievable.
Oh, it's insane. And when you meet them in person, when you're hanging out with them, it's like when I look at guys, when we watch these fights, and you watch like my weight class would be like the 205 to 210, right? So I look at that kind of weight class as like, oh, okay, this is like my size. If I would be a fighter, this is what I look like. Not at all. When you go see those guys in real life, they walk around like comfortably around 230, 240, and they cut down to that. So they're monsters in real life, and they get so sucked out just to get into the fight, and then they carb up and eat, and they probably put 20 pounds on overnight.
Yeah, well, I know if I don't drink like enough water, the next day I feel it. Like I'm like, man, I got a fucking headache. I'm all dehydrated. Your mouth's all like that cotton mouth. So I can only imagine what they go through for, 3 days trying to cut down on water and all that good stuff. But in the sauna sessions, and I see you're using your sauna over there all the time now. So
dude, the infrared sauna is legit, man. I'm on that thing. That thing's cool. It's got did you see the whole light setup that we got in there, the TV and it's
yeah, you guys were jamming out the other day, listening to some music in there.
Yeah,
but
that's cool.
Yeah, man. I like the sauna at we have a little one at our gym, but it's nothing like infrared. It just gets like real hot and you have to kind of prep it with some water and just try to get it hot enough, but it's not anything like that.
So I'm really new to the science of infrared, and it's been really fascinating kind of diving into it. And to give you kind of the generic example of like kind of how it works, that sauna has a near, mid, and far infrared. And I always get the near and the far backwards, but we'll just say it goes this way unless I know somebody will correct me. They always love to DM me when I fuck up. So I believe the near only penetrates like it barely penetrates the skin, so surface type stuff. So if you have like psoriasis like me or any skin issues, like the near infrared is really good for that. And then you have the mid. The mid will actually penetrate into the muscle, so this is going to help recovery and aid that. And then you have the far, which will actually penetrate all the way into your core and will actually heat up your core temperature. And it's literally light rays. And so the room inside the sauna doesn't get that hot. In fact, there's little pockets of it where there's not the lamps or the lights at, where my feet will be cool. I can bring a drink in there. I can have electronics in there, so I can work on my computer while I'm sweating my ass off in the sauna, because it heats you up from the inside out instead of being like sauna, your typical sauna or steam room. The room gets really hot. The room gets up to 120, 140 or however hot your sauna gets. And that's what makes you sweat. Well, the infrared, you'll get in there and the room temperature in there isn't that hot. And you have to sit there for a minute and it feels like, am I going to get hot and sweaty? I don't feel like I'm going to get hot and sweaty. And then about 10 minutes in, all of a sudden you start getting sweaty. And then before you know it, you're drenched.
That's freaking awesome. I think I fried my battery just trying to bring it into the sauna at the gym to play some music or like kind of keep track of how long I was in there. But
Right.
I heard you talking about that on the podcast and I'm like, that's freaking dope. That's super cool. You can have your phone and all that stuff in there.
Very cool.
Yeah. But all right, well, I have some questions written down, so I guess we'll kind of. So, what like made you get into podcasting? I was gonna ask, and like, where'd you? I know you're very business oriented, and like, what did you see something, and you're just like, we got to jump on this.
Yeah. So the first time I was introduced to podcasts was a long time ago, actually. It was when John McCain was running for president. So I don't know how many years back is that. And Doug might know that off the top of his head. It's been over 10 years when I got introduced, or about 10 years ago when I got introduced to it. My buddy was the one who he was into the whole. His wife was doing the hair for John McCain and Cindy McCain. Obviously, John doesn't have very much hair. She was doing his makeup, but doing Cindy McCain's hair. And so he was all in the political scene. And he was the one who kind of got me into it a little bit. And the way he got me into it is every time we would drive to work or we drive anywhere, it would be fucking talk radio on inside the car. And it would annoy me at first. And then I was like, what are you listening to? And he's like, oh, it's podcast. I'm like, what's a podcast? And he's like, oh, and he basically, explained to me in layman's terms what it was. And so I kind of like searched around on a little bit and was kind of fascinated in this idea that I could look up some of these, podcasters and listen to them. Now, at that time, when I'm listening, I'm not even thinking, fitness isn't even in my mind. It's talk radio, and politics and talk shows type stuff. So I'm kind of dabbled in a little bit, listened to it during that time that he was with me, but lost interest in it. Really didn't pay attention to it after that for a few more years later. And then, as Mind Pump was, before Mind Pump even existed or even Sal, Justin and I were all together, I would watch kind of where we were going with Spotify and Hulu and Netflix. And I was really fascinated in just digital streaming media in general and knew that it was the future of how we were going to do things. It just, anybody that's streamed, obviously almost everybody's done Netflix now or Hulu or Spotify or Pandora or any of these tools that we have now. But I mean, when they first came out, they were still kind of new. Not a lot of people were still using them. A lot of people are still buying CDs. I don't know when the last CD you bought or whatever, but people were doing that not that long ago. But when I saw what these companies were doing with streaming media, I thought, I don't know how radio and TV is going to keep up with this, especially when we got to the point where it was so fast and clear. Like when it first came out, shit was kind of fuzzy and like you just get disconnected. And so that was what turned me off. I was like, it's not there yet. But once we got to the capability to where we could stream almost anything instantaneously to our phone, right away I was just like, oh, it's going to be game over for the old way of doing things, which how you digested your news, how you digested your entertainment, how you digested your music. I knew this was all kind of getting flipped on its head, and so I became kind of interested in that space. And by interested, I was just following